Ooh, hey y'all. It's my birthday. No, it's not. It's not my birthday. It's not. It is Be Worth Funding Books' birthday. Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Look, I was supposed to have I was supposed to have balloons and cupcakes and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? I was like, you know what? We don't have no balloons and cupcakes. We don't need no cupcakes because I'm trying to lose weight. Did y'all see the other thing over there? I said I was trying to lose weight. I don't even eat no cupcakes. But this week is Be Worth Funding the book first anniversary, y'all. I can't. It's been a year, like a year since Be Worth Funding was published. Be Worth Funding movement started taking place. It's been a whole year. So I wanted to come in just to say happy birthday to Be Worth Funding the book. Y'all come on in. We gonna keep it rolling, right? I'm gonna hang out with y'all for a little while. If you got questions about nonprofiting, about fund development, make sure you get those questions into me because I want to take a little time to answer them live here today at the Happy Birthday Be Worth Funding. Okay. Um, I'm paying attention. I'm looking at y'all. Hold on. All right. Yeah. So if you got questions, make sure you put them in so we can get your questions answered. But we're about to go live, y'all. Hey, y'all, come on in. Tell your friends. Tag your friends before I get started. Tag your friends because I want to talk about this. You tagging your friends? Tag your friends. Come on in. Come on in. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on. All right, here we go. So yeah, back to it. Back to it. Uh, this week, actually, it was I think the 20th that Be Worth Funding was published of September last year. It seems like it's been a lot longer than that for me already because I've always screamed Be Worth Funding. Like, what does that even mean? So I'm gonna give you a little background about the book. Okay, so y'all forgive me. This is a birthday celebration, but I ain't got no balloons. I ain't got no birthday hats because I said, you know what? This is serious. We ain't. Let's not even pretend that we are playing games, right? Not that a birthday is not important and you shouldn't celebrate it and all this kind of stuff, but let's forget about the balloons and the decorations and all that kind of stuff, and let's get to business. Let's get to the business of funding our organizations and doing it the right way because there's so much junk out here in these nonprofit streets. There's so much misinformation. There's so many pseudo consultants. There's so many hype men and hype women out here around grants and funding that it gets so crazy that our organizations don't know if they're worth funding or not. All we know is that there's funding is available and we want it. We don't know how to pursue it. We don't know how to position for it. So that's kind of where Be Worth Funding came from, several years ago. And I've been in this game for a minute. If you don't know me, my name is Ty Boone. I have more than 25 years experience working with nonprofit organizations, helping them to move from startup and struggle to sustainability and success without the traditional headache and hassle and to get them funded and stay funded. That's what I do, right? And I've been doing this for a while. So I've worked with a lot of different organizations, a lot of, at different phases of development. And one thing that organizations have in common is that they need money. No matter what size the organization is, they need money, right? Sometimes we get a little bit confused because people who are in those early beginning stages of nonprofit development think that they should be able to get this funding that somebody who has, been tried and true and who have done the work, they want to get the same money. Like, girl, you're not ready. You got a position for this funding. There are things that you have to have in place with your organization. And again, I'm talking about nonprofit organizations for those of you who are just coming in. There are things that you have to have in place with your organization that positions you to receive funding and receive it consistently. Now, I know there's stuff out there. There's a hidden, little grants and things that you can get. There's a little sponsorship that you can get. But how do you do these things consistently? Well, first of all, you have to become worthy, which is why the title of this book is Be Worth Funding. Y'all see what it says right here. This is me. This is me in the background too. That's what makeup and stuff. I don't do that on a regular day. I wear hoodies and Be Worth Funding sweatshirts. That's how I get by, right? But Be Worth Funding is not just a book for me. Be Worth Funding is a movement because with all the years of experience that I have in nonprofit organizations, I have seen organizations struggle, like year after year struggle. I have seen, especially like founder-led, founder ED type organizations. I've seen you guys struggle so much paying out of your pockets for things. and really chasing grants until you're just tired of chasing grants. And, sometimes your organization's closed because you can't find the funding that you need to do what it is that you're wanting to do. The more I worked with nonprofit organizations, I realized something that a lot of organizations have in common, and that's the internal structures are a lot of times just not where they should be for you to attract the funding that you need consistently. What do I mean by that? You'll see these grant lists out on Facebook. People say, you want to get a grant list, right? You want to get, y'all like and share. April is over here telling me, tell y'all like and share this thing, because I'm just talking, right? Tell your friends, invite your friends, because I really got some good information to share with you. If you got some questions, make sure you bring them in so I can answer your questions toward the end. But anyway, you have organizations that struggle for, or maybe you just got started and you're struggling and you're trying to figure out, why am I struggling? I heard that if I started a nonprofit, I can get a grant. So I started this nonprofit. I hadn't gotten any grants. I started this nonprofit. Nobody donates to my fundraiser. I started this nonprofit. Nobody sponsors me. What am I doing wrong? What I found working with nonprofit organizations that although, if you got my book, again, get your book, because I'm telling you all this in the book, right? Although what you're doing is very well, deserving. What you're doing, you're helping people. Nonprofits are formed to help people most of the time, right? You're serving someone who is in need. Those things are important. Society says those things are important. The thing that you do is important. People who are hungry need to eat. People without clothes need clothes. People who don't have jobs need jobs. So those things that you're doing, those are very, very important things. But sometimes the reason why we miss the funding is because the internal processes and the infrastructure that we have in our organizations so raggedy. That's my other word. Y'all write that down. Raggedy. Just not put together well enough. You're not able to convince the funder that, hey, even though this stuff that I'm doing is very important, my organization is worthy of the funding that I'm asking for so that I can do this work. Sometimes we're missing the mark, not because of the external forces, not because of the grant maker, not because of the donor, not because of the sponsor, but because of us, because of how we're handling our business inside, and we're not handling the right way. We're not. Ty, what are you talking about? Again, being worthy of the funding that you seek. Is one thing to have a population in a community that is deserving. Like I said, if you're in a intimate partner violence relationship, you deserve to get out of it. But if this organization who is founded to help you to get out of it is not handling their business, funders are not going to think that they're worthy of the funding that they need to help you to get this done. This Be Worth Funding movement for me is a cry for nonprofit organizations to examine themselves internally. What are you doing on the inside of your organization to ensure that you are attracting funds from the outside? A lot of us aren't doing anything. A lot of us are out here just asking for money, saying, hey, I serve these kids. These kids need to go to college. I need money to help these kids go to college. Why should we give you that money? Why should we give it to you? Somebody's getting it, right? There's other organizations out here that are getting the funds, but why should someone who has funding to give it to your organization? Everything else aside, I'm not talking about the population you serve. I'm not talking about the fact that hungry kids need food. I'm not talking about the fact that kids who are underexposed to college and careers need to have that exposure. I'm talking about your internal processes, your systems, those things that you do to hold the integrity of your organization. Are you doing that? If you had $1 million and you were some random funder and you did not know your organization, would you trust your organization the way that you're running it today to take care of your $1 million? If you're unsure, and again, taking all the personal things out of it, if you're unsure and you know for a fact, you know what? My organization is so raggedy, we don't even have a business bank account. Who wants to give you $1 million? My organization is so raggedy, we don't really have a good board. We got me and my mom and my cousin. Who's going to hold you accountable? Why should I give you $1 million? We don't have anything else in place. If you gave us this $1 million, that's all we got. We don't know how we're going to sustain once your $1 million is gone. Why would I let you waste my $1 million? These are some things that I talk about in the book. If you got the book, I want you to read the book. The book has done a great job, y'all. It's been consistently on the Amazon bestsellers list, all over the place, all over the country, all over the world, even. But it's not enough to have a copy of the book if you're not going to read the book. And if you're not going to implement what the book is telling you to do, you're going to continue to be raggedy. You're gonna have an idea what being worthy of funding is, but you're not going to be able to do the things that you need to become worthy. Worthy organizations receive funding consistently. Building things internally, again, without me going through every chapter, just get the book, because every chapter talks about some things that you need to do to get worthy. My favorite chapter, if y'all can see, I don't know if y'all can see this or not. My favorite chapter is the 20 truths. That's my favorite chapter because it's Ty Boone talking crazy. That's kind of what I do, right? If you have your book, if you can get to that chapter, I would love to share some of these truths with you, right? Truth number one is my favorite chapter, and it has like several bullets to truth number one. So it's just not like this little blurb of things. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see it? Y'all see that, right? Again, this is my favorite chapter. And this chapter starts out by saying, you know what? If you can identify, if you're struggling, especially in your organization, you probably can identify with at least one or more of the truths that we have in this chapter, right? Truth one says, if I don't have any money, the reason why I ain't got no money for my organization is probably because I did not do the work. A lot of us feel so entitled, y'all. We sit out here, we start our nonprofits on paper, we get our 501c3 done, we have a celebration on Facebook, and we say, yeah, I got my 501c3, and then we sit there and we don't do the work. The work does not mean posting, looking for a grant writer, putting up a fundraiser. That's not the work. The work is the inside stuff. How am I going to develop my board? Does my board understand what their roles and responsibilities are? Do I understand what my roles and responsibilities are? Do I even have a job description if I'm saying that I'm the executive director or the CEO or whatever y'all want to call yourself in this organization? What is my job? Do I have accounting systems in place? Sure, the correct insurance that I need for my organization. Are my programs developed? Do I know what impact would mean for my program and how to communicate that? This is before you ask for funding, before you ask for grant money. We are doing this backwards, y'all. This is why Be Worth funding is here. We're doing this backwards. What we're doing is we're applying for 501c3, and we're getting approved. And the next thing we do is we start asking for donations, or we start asking for grants, or we start looking for a grant writer, or we're chasing grant lists. And we don't care what it is. It could be something as simple as Walmart. We're like, I got to get some money. I got to get it now. Don't even know what to do with the money. So once Walmart gives you this $500 or this $1,000 or whatever it is they decide to give you, and you don't know what to do with it, and it's gone within a month, now you find yourself in a funding drought because you didn't know internally what you're supposed to do to maximize that opportunity with Walmart. All right. Again, my favorite chapter is the 20 truths. Another truth, you waited for grant dollars that you weren't ready for. First of all, you're applying for these grants, not grant ready. And then when the grant money did not come, you got discouraged, right? You're like, oh, this is not working for me. This is not the business for me. Something is wrong. What's wrong is that you did not work on becoming worthy. Grants are there. The grants are everywhere. Y'all see this all over the internet, all over Facebook, Instagram, people posting grant opportunities. People are sending emails with grant lists in it, right? You know that grants are there. But if you're not competitive, you're going to be on the losing end most of the time of getting the grant. Now, you might be lucky. Everybody looks up sometimes. You might get lucky and get something sometimes. But what happens when you're not worthy and you're not ready? You're going to find that your luck runs out. You're going to find an inconsistent path to funding, especially if you're relying on external resources. You're supposed to look within. What's the strengths of your organizations? Again, starting with your board and your leadership. You are part of that leadership. There's talk about this in the Be Worth Funding book, right? You're a part of the leadership. Especially if you're the founder ED, you don't have to be the ED just because you're the founder. That's a misconception. But if you're the executive director, you're the CEO of this organization, it is your job to ensure the worthiness of your organization. Those systems that you're supposed to have in place, the way that you lead your organization communicates your worthiness to funders. Nowadays, you'll see in a lot of grant applications, they ask you for things like your board members. What city are they in? What are they affiliated with? Those things that you should know as the executive director. What are you doing? What's your history? What do you bring to the table? What are your strengths in the subject matter that you are working in? A lot of us are starting organizations because of, we woke up one morning and we said, you know what, I'm gonna start an organization to feed the homeless. Don't have any experience in the home with that, that's no problem. But the problem is when you don't get continuing education in that thing. So now you're out here, you're trying to serve in a space that you have no clue about. And because you don't have a clue about it, it's hard for you to communicate the worthiness of your organization. Now, you can communicate that your population is deserving because you've seen it elsewhere. Again, in the book, there's the first page tells you the difference between deserving and being worthy. Deserving, some people just have situations and circumstances. Doesn't mean they deserve to be out in the cold. Doesn't mean they deserve to freeze or to be hungry or to be beaten or whatever, right? But when you're worthy, you build value that's really hard to put a dollar amount on. If I'm so valuable to the funder, they have no problem giving me the funds because all my stuff is together, right? Not just your board and your leadership, but how do I account fiscally? Who holds me accountable? What do those systems look like? Whether I'm managing $5 or $5 million, what do I have in place for management? Again, this is before you go out here looking for grants. And I know a bunch of y'all, a lot of folk who bought this book are new and developing nonprofit organizations, which is good, right? A lot of y'all are new. A lot of y'all started the organization. Y'all like, look, I'm gonna get this book. You're gonna teach me how to get a grant. You open the book, you like, dang, she ain't even saying how to get no grant. She's telling me to get in position. She's telling me to do this work. And you're like, that's too much. That's too much, right? Most of us are not going to get funding consistently because we don't want to do the work, the positioning work. This is what Be Worth Funding is about. Be Worth Funding requires some sweat on your behalf. It requires that you do some work. It requires that you get in alignment with whatever it is that your mission is, understanding your mission and working out that mission. With or without the funding. And that's the hard part for most people who are starting nonprofits out of their pockets, right? How am I supposed to work out my mission without the funding? Ain't nobody tell you to do this. Again, this is why Be Worth Funding, right? If you're founder ED, nobody told you. I mean, maybe God told you. I don't know. To do this, right? If God told you to do it, you got to listen. You got to take order. You got to do things in order. Because God don't want to operate in no junk. You're blaming God because you're not getting the funding and you raggedy. You wouldn't even go out and get a bank account in the business name and you blaming God that you didn't get funded. You got your mom and your cousin and your best friend Esther on the board. They don't know anything about organizations and you're saying, why can't I get funding? And you put it together this way, like this was your plan. This is how you orchestrated the organization, and this is why it's not working. Sometimes we become unworthy because of the things that we do. And I know y'all might get mad at me, but if y'all been rocking with me for a minute, y'all know I just tell it how it is. That's why I ain't got no balloons in here. I tell it, we ain't got to be fancy with it. Too much fancy going on. Just tell it like it is, right? The Be Worth Funding movement is to develop organizations that are strong, and not just strong, but are complete in the way that they can compete with larger organizations, that they can receive consistent funding because they know that their insides are good. It's like building a house, right? You build it on a shaky foundation, every little wind comes by can blow the house down. But when you build it on a strong foundation, then you know it can withstand some wind. A lot of our organizations are not standing because we did not build them correctly. We did not build them in a worthy manner. And the first mistake that we make is that we start looking for funds before we are ready for funding. Because we know we got to have funding to operate. We know we got to, but we don't even know what the funding is for half the time. A lot of you guys are still revising your mission. A lot of you guys are mission drifting, don't know what's going on with your organizations, but you're posting looking for a grant writer. As soon as you get $2,000 in your organization's budget, you want to spend it on a grant writer. You're not thinking about systems that you might be missing. You're not thinking about building your programs so that you can have the numbers, so that you can compete even with these grant applications that you're applying for. All you want is the money. And it's crazy because the culture that's being built out here, and again, this is another reason why I wrote the book, just kind of looking around, especially social media, right? Especially social media and the culture of social media. And I think I don't know how I ended up jumping off the camera. I don't know what happened to my camera, y'all, but I'm still here. Right. Yeah, I'm still here. Something happened to the camera. I'm still here. We're live. So y'all roll with it. I don't know. Roll with it. When I roll with it, I might keep the camera off. Let me check it. We live. Don't worry about it. Stay right here. I'm still here. There it is right there. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you go live, when you be real time. That's why you record stuff. Record the stuff, and then you won't have to worry about that. But that's what it is. Happy birthday to Be Worth on the book. Well, I don't know where I left off at. And I'm Cheryl Cricket, and I don't know. Anyway, here we go. So I was talking about yeah. Tech issues are over. You know how it is when you go live. That's how it happens. But anyway, my favorite chapter in the book, as I told y'all, was the chapter on 20 truths. And without me running through it, a lot of it just deals with the fact that we listen to everything. We listen to these pseudo consultants out here on social media. They hype you up. They say, hey, get a grant for this. You can get a grant for that. You do this and that. And what happens is we run out there and we start applying for stuff. We start asking for grant writers. We start paying grant writers, and we're not even ready for what we're asking for. I want us to be in a position where when we go out there for grants, we can compete for them. Our community, y'all, and when I'm talking about us, I'm talking about our community of folk who don't have folk who are already millionaires giving to our organization. I'm talking about folk who sometimes have to start out paying out your pocket. We're the most desperate people when it comes to things like grants, and we are following these social media content creators and influencers or whatever, and we're like, you know what? If they give me an easy way out, give me a scam, I'm gonna get the scam because I don't want to do the work. When you get caught up in that stuff, you lose your worthiness. A serious funder wants to know that you understand the works of a nonprofit. They want to understand that you didn't just go out here randomly applying for Walmart because somebody made a Walmart announcement. Why did you apply for the Walmart grant? And y'all hear me talk about Walmart all the time, right? Walmart gives $250 to $5,000 mini grants. People go out there and get them. But what's the reason? Why did you apply for that? Did you apply for it just because I said there was a Walmart grant available? Or did you really understand how the Walmart grant fits into your mission? If you apply for the Walmart grant just because Walmart grants are available, You probably ain't got no money right now. You probably got the Walmart grant, and you're probably right now looking for more funding because you didn't know what to do with that Walmart grant. You didn't know how that applied to your mission. Just because they gave it to you, you took it. You probably bought some pizzas for the kids and they used the bathroom, and now you ain't got no money no more. And you don't have any results. You don't have any impact behind the Walmart grant because you're not being worthy of the funding. You're taking it because you think you deserve it. And I've heard people say that. They're like, you know what? They got money out here. We deserve the money. Let's go get the money. That's not how this works. When you are establishing a solid organization and you're building your organization, from the ground up, most of you guys are. There's some things that you want to have at a foundational level. First, you want to understand, everybody gets their paperwork. And like I said, y'all be out here celebrating paperwork. I'm like, why y'all celebrating paperwork? Why are you celebrating that you got a 501c3 approval? You about to go to work. Why you celebrating that? Why are you celebrating that, especially if your cousin and them on your board, they don't know nothing about nonprofits? Why are you celebrating this? This is not your lottery tickets. This is not Willy Wonka chocolate factory golden candy bar thing. This is work. Once you are approved and you got your approval for your nonprofit and you have everything in place, again, I talked about your leadership, I talked about your board, knowing who they are, knowing what their strengths are, knowing what they bring to the table, knowing what you bring to the table, because it's not enough to have an idea about a problem that you want to solve and start a nonprofit. Sometimes y'all just leave it alone. Don't even start a nonprofit. Go work for somebody else. It may not be the thing you have to do. That's the thing. If you know that's the thing that you have to, that you're called to do, that you're wanting to do, and you start this nonprofit organization, start it for the reason of the mission. Well, I started this organization so I could feed hungry people. I started this organization so I can help women remove themselves from intimate partner violence situations or whatever, and walk out that mission. And anything that does not that does not relate to your mission, you leave that alone. That ain't for you. Not only that, the inside things. Remember, the inside things are the things that make you worthy. The outside things are the things that make you deserving. So I can look on the outside and I can see that people are dying because they're not eating. Those people deserve to eat. But when my funder or my prospective funder, potential sponsor, looks on the inside of my organization and sees that I don't even have an accounting system, am I worthy of the funding? When they see that it's only me, and we think that's good. We're like, okay, I'm the only one running this organization. I'm the chief operating officer of everything, and I'm the secretary. I'm the treasurer. That's not funny. That's not good. An organization is supposed to be a group of people who come together to meet a common goal. If I'm going to give you $1 million, I need to know who's holding you accountable. I need to know what your group looks like. This is why y'all not getting no money. Internally, y'all are busted. And I know, and the reason why you're busted is because of the desperation I talked about. You're rushing. You're rushing to it. You're saying, I got my paperwork. I need $1 million. No, you don't. You got your paperwork you need to develop. You need to look into your organization and go, okay, what does my board look like? Because I know that my board is my first line of defense in my organization. The board is the first. The board is going to lead in fundraising efforts. The board is going to represent your organization. The board is going to help hold you accountable. The board is going to help you understand your budget. Yeah, you need your board, like really, really important. So let me work on that first and let me see how strong they are. Let's work on that. Let's get them trained. Let's do what they're supposed to do, right? Then let's look at our executive director. That's you, or most of you guys, our CEO. What qualities and characteristics they bring to the table? How can they lead? What do they know about this subject? Do they have to advocate at all for what we're doing? Do they understand how to do executive things? What is their job description? A lot of y'all are working as ED CEO, ain't even got a job description, don't know what you're supposed to be doing. Just over here every day talking about you got a nonprofit organization selling fish plates or giving out food at the food pantry. And this is why you ain't got no money. What do my programs look like? Who's running my programs? Do we understand the programs, the outcomes, the impacts that we're creating? Do we know how to measure those things? Are we collecting data? Are we making a difference? Are we stopping during evaluation at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months to see whether or not our program is even working? Or are we just doing things and spending money and asking for money and paying money out of our pockets and having events and having workshops and having breakfasts and I don't know. What are we doing? And so when it's time to get ready for the bigger pieces of funding, not just grant funding, but support, external support, sponsorships, folk who are wanting to partner with you on a major level, people don't trust you because your insides are raggedy. The Be Worth Funding book helps you to work on your insides. Again, I ain't gonna go through all the truths. Y'all have seen, y'all got the book. If you ain't got the book, go get the book. The book tells you what it is I'm talking about. If you don't understand me over here saying it, you get the book and it tells you what it is. What I want people to get from this book, if they have not gotten it already, is that being worth funding is a way of living for your organization, a way of walking for your organization, like walking into the worthiness that your organization is supposed to be, walking into it, doing those things and being in line and in agreement with the mission of your organization. If I am established to ensure that kids go to college and that's the mission or that's the overall goal of my organization, everything that I do should remind me of my mission. Every partner that I have should remind me of my mission. Every grant that I apply for should remind me of my mission in some way or the other. Internally, I need to have a hold on things. I need to know that, hey, what happens right now if somebody were to walk up to you and say, hey, I got $200,000 for your organization. You can have it. Are your bank accounts set up? Does your board know how to hold you accountable for that? Do you understand reporting if there's reporting required behind that funding? If you don't, there's a problem. You're not ready for it. And I know a lot of us want it. Who doesn't want money? Everybody want money. There's a difference between wanting it and being ready for it. I want, $20 million. Am I ready for $20 million? Like, what would I do with it? Do I have a plan in place? Do you have a plan in place? Randomly applying for grants. And again, a lot of this, the internet and things like that have made this a problem. Being able to access social media and Facebook and get on people's lists and have people to say, give you this and give you that, it's a problem for us, for our community. A lot of us are so desperate that we race and we follow these things and we chase the grants and we chase the sponsorship and we chase the fundraiser and we have event after event and fundraiser after fundraiser. We're not getting anywhere because we don't want to do the inside stuff. The inside stuff is in the book. If I were to tell you everything, then you don't have to go buy the book or have to read the book. I want you to go and read the book. I want you to buy the book. I want you to read the book so that you can understand what the inside work is. What is that about? Who am I supposed to be building? What am I supposed to be looking at? If I'm trying to get sponsorship, what am I supposed to be working on the inside? If I'm trying to get grants, what am I supposed to be working with my organization on the inside? If I'm trying to build a stronger leadership within my organization, what do I look? What do I look at within myself? Being able to compete with larger organizations, with organizations that are more established, you don't have to be $1 million organization to compete. You just got to look good, both on the inside and the outside. Stop chasing the money and be worth funding. Ask yourself the question now: is your organization really worthy of what you're asking for? Again, your population might be deserving, but is your organization really worthy? A lot of us, and there's a chapter in this book, a lot of us are doing our populations a disservice. It is our fault that people are not eating. It is our fault that kids are not going to college. It is our fault. What do you mean by that? Because your organization is so raggedy. Nobody wants to give you money. Nobody wants to give you any money. because they can't trust you with it. At the same time, those people who you serve really deserve the money, and it's your fault. In the book, I talk about, my daughter, she loves these Walking Dead and all this kind of stuff. But in this book, I talk about, even in a zombie apocalypse, nonprofits will be necessary because there's always going to be somebody or something that needs something. Even the zombies looking for food. Do we starve them? They already dead, but do we starve them to double death? I don't like. How does this work? Is there a nonprofit organization for zombies that's going to take care of the zombies because they're hungry? Whether you got the funding, whether it's the end of the world or whatever, folk who need things are going to always need them. Your organization is designed to provide a need, right? Or to service a need. But if your internal processes are not together, who's going to give it to you? Your population is going to suffer. I can say all day, yeah, even zombies need to eat. We got to find a brain of blood. Where's the blood bank or whatever? Vampires, whoever, still have to be served. There's an organization out there for everything. My population, if I care for my population, from my perspective and from those other people who care about my population, that population needs the support that I'm giving. But because I'm raggedy, because you're raggedy, because your organization is not set up the way that it's supposed to be set up, even though your population needs and deserves this thing or these resources, we're making it hard for them to get it because people can't trust us. I remember, and we're heading into, administration change, whether it's going to be, who's going to be president, whatever, doesn't really matter as it relates to this, right? But the budget meetings at the beginning of the presidential term determine things like where funding is going to go. Budget cuts upset us a lot. Like, why are you cutting the budget for this? And why are you cutting the budget for these people who need it? And that person, and that's going to affect my nonprofit. A lot of that happens because we're not taking care of what we already have internally. We're not able to report. We're not able to show that the money that we've been using in the past has made a difference or an impact. Our board's done ran off with the money. We over here with HUD dollars and stuff and buying fancy cars and mansions, mismanaging the funds because our cousin and them are on the board. Or we're over here following somebody on TikTok or whatever who said, get a nonprofit, get a grant, live your best life. We got the grant and we done went and bought a Maserati. Now we're wondering why the funding is cut. Or we're having after school programs and we're saying we're going to help these kids do better. We're going to teach them something. They're going to learn more, but all of them are failing. Everybody reading at a second grade level and in the 7th grade. We're not making a difference. We got them in there playing basketball. Nothing's wrong playing basketball. We got them in there playing basketball, but we're not teaching them anything. We're not teaching them, conflict resolution over basketball. We're not teaching them mental toughness or whatever it is you got to have. Whatever y'all got going on in sports, but what are we doing? Are we just in there playing basketball, spending the money? Nobody wants to fund us for that. And people start to get tired. Really get tired and fatigued of giving us funding for things and we're not making a difference, or giving us funding for things and there's nobody holding us accountable, giving us funding for what's supposed to be public charity organizations that you don't own, by the way, if this is a public charity. Yet we go to your Facebook and we go to your Instagram and we go to your LinkedIn. It's all about you, the ED. We're looking and we're finding out that, hey, there's nobody here holding this organization accountable or holding this ED or this CEO accountable because she thinks that it's all about them. We're not giving them our money. Things like that makes you lose your funding worthiness. Check out the book. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole book. I'm not going to go through I want y'all to read the book. It's a really quick, easy read. Really, informative. Helps you to understand maybe if you're not getting the funding that you're wanting to receive consistently, why you're not getting it and what you need to do and what you need to be thinking about in order to get on the right page for funding. That's it, right? That's all I got. I wanted to say happy birthday to Be Worth Funding. It's been a year. It's been a year. All y'all should have this book. It's been a year. Everybody should have it by now. In addition to the book, we have the workbook, y'all. We got the workbook. The workbook. I think the workbook was January. It's also it's like half a year almost for the workbook. We're selling the workbook. You can get a digital copy of the workbook at tyboone.com. You can go to beworthfunding.store and you can get a hard copy of the workbook. But we ain't gonna let the workbook outshine the book because this is what you need first. You need a foundation. You need to know what's going on with your organization. If you think that you're worthy of funding and you've not been getting the funding, check out the book. I bet you're missing something. This is a hard copy, by the way. Hard copy and paperback, all copy, are available. But if you're thinking that you're worthy of funding and you're not getting it, I bet you check out the 20 Truths chapter. I bet you that there's something in there that relates to your organization that's preventing you from getting the funding that you're seeking. Whether it's your board, whether it's how you're managing things, whether you have founder syndrome, you out here thinking it's all about you, whether you're driving the donors away, maybe you have grants already, maybe you have too many of them. Maybe donors are saying, you know what, they don't need us. They got a lot of grants. We don't need to give them nothing. And we're not giving them anything. Maybe you're not approaching your sponsors in the right way. Maybe you're not approaching them at the right time. Maybe you're not showing that your organization is worth the support. The internal things, those things that you do, that you do on the inside, show up on the outside. Those things that show up on the outside is what's going to make the funders drawn to you. But you have to be prepared on the inside first, and it kind of spills over. Right? All right. So that's all I got, and happy birthday. Do y'all got any questions and stuff like that? I'm gonna hang out. We just hanging out. I just want to have a conversation. I just want to have a conversation with y'all. Y'all got a couple of minutes just to kind of hang out. I don't sing no songs or nothing like that. But if y'all got a couple of minutes, share this with your friends and stuff. Share it with your friends. I'm looking around to see if y'all got any questions and stuff. Y'all got no questions? Do y'all got the book? Do you got the book? Did you read the book? Who got questions? I don't see no. Y'all got no questions? Come on with it. I know y'all got nonprofit questions. How do I do this? What should I do? Did you read the book? Did the book answer all your questions? If it did, we're doing good. If it didn't, read it again because I'm pretty sure there's something in there that it can answer. Again, we got the Be Worth Funding workbook. You can add that to your thing. Order the book. Order your book, Kay. Order your book. Hey, Belinda. Yeah. Order your book. Go to Amazon. Order your book. If you want the workbook is not on Amazon. The workbook is at my website, tyboone.com. If you want the digital copy, it's on beworthfunding.store. Y'all see my hoodie right here? I got like Be Worth Funding hoodie. I got Be Worth Funding mugs and all kinds of stuff. Y'all can get that from the Be Worth Funding store. So beworthfunding.store is where you get that. If you drink coffee juice, get notepads, all kind of stuff up in the store, you can go get that. Because like I said, this is a movement. It's a movement. It's not just the book to Sharon. It's not just the book, Belinda. Just Sharon, she's finishing reading. It's not just that. It's not just that. It's a movement. How are you walking in your organization? How do we know, to Sharon, that your organization is worthy of the funding that it is seeking? I know your audience is deserving. But internally, are you in a position to really convince a major funder that, hey, we're worthy of this. We're strong inside. We have a really good board. They provide really great oversight. We have our accounting systems in place. We're properly insured. We understand our programs, our goals, our objectives. We walk out our mission every day. Our board is leading the way as our first line of defense. Can you say those things? We understand what impact we're making. We know how to communicate that. we evaluate. We not only are we evaluating our programs, we are evaluating our organization. And a lot of people miss that part, right? A lot of folk are out here with program evaluation, but not evaluating the organization. What do you mean by that, Ty? Well, is it time to get a new board? They acting up. Do we need to get new leadership? Are we bringing in funding like we're supposed to? Are we reaching the audience that we're supposed to? Are we marketing like we're supposed to be doing? Where are the funding trends right now? At one point in time, has our funding trend changed? From the next point in time, I talked about, working in HIV and stuff. I did that for a while, right? When HIV first hit the scene, when HIV first came on the scene, the big thing was prevention, education, right? Prevention, education, prevention. We got to prevent the spread of HIV, right? After a while, funding trends changed because you got Magic Johnson who got this pill, you got lower viral loads, you got things like that happening. So folk were like, you know what? Prevention, that's still important, but we need to teach people how to take their medicines, how to go to the doctor, how to reduce their viral loads. Are you following those things? Because if you don't follow them, the funds are going to leave you. Still within your mission, but knowing how to follow the funding trends as they relate to the goals of your organization. Are you doing that? So Sharon says, Belinda says, we're beginners and we'll follow your way. Thank you, Belinda. Like I said, this book, Beginners, great for anywhere that you are in your nonprofit. This is great. But if you are a beginner, this is a really great foundation for you. A lot of people get started, Belinda, and they just don't know. A lot of people get started because somebody said start a nonprofit, or you have a passion for something or a heart to serve, and you're like, okay, what's the best way to get this going? Maybe I should start a nonprofit organization, right? Some people who started a nonprofit organization probably should have started a for-profit business, but really didn't understand the difference and how this works with funding and financing and all this kind of stuff, and they started a nonprofit instead. But you're here now, right? Being new, there are things that you have to put in place. At the bottom, especially if you're underfunded and you don't have a team with you, there's a lot of people who start nonprofits and they have people already who have big pockets, and they're like, okay, here's the money, go ahead and get started. Most of us starting nonprofits and we ain't got nothing, got no money, got no friends, got no family. Starting nonprofit, asking for money, ain't got friends or family. Can't even put nobody on the T-Mobile top 5. I'm old like that. I remember T-Mobile top 5. You can't put people on your top 5 so you can call them or whatever. How do you get started when you don't have that, right? Putting that right board in place, having those people who are going to be your first line of defense. That's where it starts. If you've already started and your board is raggedy and they don't understand nonprofiting and you don't understand nonprofiting and you don't understand funding trends and they don't understand funding trends, you're going to suffer. Starting with the leadership, that's where you start. So what you don't know, take an opportunity to learn it. Miss Belinda, really good because you're going to get the book. So now you're going to know some stuff, right? You take that opportunity so you can put things in place even before you start looking for funding. Because once you start looking for funding, you're telling the funder some things. You're trying to convince the funder that you're worthy, number one. You're trying to convince the funder that you're responsible, number two. And you're trying to convince the funder that you're ready, right? So if you're not worthy, why should I give you my money? If you're not responsible, I'm definitely not going to give you my money. And if you're not ready, what does that mean? You're not prepared. You don't have the systems in place. What happens to my money when I give it to an unready organization? They spend it somewhere they shouldn't spend it. They don't know how to maximize it. 2 years from now or 2 months from now, the organization is struggling financially or maybe even closed because they weren't ready for that responsibility of the funding. You want to be able to prove to your funder that, hey, I'm ready for this. This is what my impact looks like. This is what my numbers are. This is who my board is. This is how they hold me accountable. This is the last time we had a board meeting. This is how we manage our books. This is how we communicate impact. This is how we walk out our mission. This is how we stay in the know regarding the funding trends. Do you even participate in continuing education as it relates to the thing that you do? Those kind of things that keep you ready. All right. Who is that? Sharon says you've hit You've hit on what I've been saying. Am I doing population a disservice because I internally need to be strengthened? Yeah, on the inside, right? And to Sharon, where I think where the issue comes a lot of times, especially for smaller organizations, is the capacity, right, to serve. So if you are the ED or CEO, or some people use it interchangeably, I'll say ED, right? If you're the ED and you're also trying to manage the programs, or you're the program manager, the program director, you're also trying to keep the board in check because your board chair really doesn't know what's going on. So you're trying to keep them together. So you got 3 jobs. You're also out here trying to fundraise. So now you're the fundraiser and the development officer, right? You're also out here trying to, market and do things like that. So now you're also the marketer. You stretch yourself too thin. And when you stretch yourself too thin, something is going to go lacking. Usually the thing that goes lacking is the main thing that gets you the consistent support, the building up of the organization and that internal thing, because you're like, I don't have time to focus on internal when I'm trying to get this money. I don't have time to focus on the internal when I think I need to be writing a grant because I want to get this money. I don't have time to focus on the internal when I think I need to be having a fundraiser because I want to get this money. Because you don't have anybody else to do those things. This is why the board being your first line of defense is important, because even if they have to come in as volunteers, even if they have to help you to reach out and get volunteers, to do some of that other stuff so you can work on building the foundation, understanding your population, being in the know of the funding trends as they relate to your population, building the accountability within your board, training your board like they're supposed to be trained, understanding your programs and what impact you're making, and knowing not only how to communicate that, but where to communicate that. Teaching your team how to communicate that. That's internal stuff that we miss because we put the cart before the horse. The cart is the money. That's the stuff that keeps us going, right? The wheels. We want the money first. Then we think about the internal. And by that time, we're so far behind, or the funder does not trust us enough to give us the money because our foundation is weak. Sometimes we need to step back a little bit and say, okay, let me look at the foundational stuff. Let me make sure we got this together. What happens if you get $2 million in funding and your account's not set up right? What happens if you get $50,000 sponsorship and your account's not set up right, or you don't have the correct insurance, or you don't have your fundraising registration? What happens? What happens if your board is not in place and the grant maker says, give me a list of your board members and their affiliations, and that's all you need to give me in order to get this grant, and the board comes up to be 90% of your family, and the IRS says we don't want more than 49% to be family members. None of them in Ty Boone world can be family members, but what happens, right? Here we go. What else? Y'all got anything else? Come on, give me some more questions. Make some more comments. Y'all read the book? Get the book over there. Thank you, April. April got the link to the digital copy over there. Y'all can get the digital copy. The workbook. Again, the workbook is, you don't have to have both to make this work, right? The book is good all by itself. The workbook is even better all by itself. So it really doesn't matter which one you decide to get. You just want to make sure that you get one, right? Or get both of them. If you really want to do some work, get the workbook. If you want to do some work, the workbook is practical. The workbook is hands-on. You can get the workbook, right? In addition to, and I'm about to close up because we're nearing an hour. I didn't want to hold y'all all night, right? In addition to the book and the workbook, you see my merch. You got the Be Worth Funding store. The Unraggedy merch is at the store. Unraggedy is the next big thing, right? They're kind of working together with the Be Worth Funding. We're kind of co-branding the Unraggedy Be Worth Funding type movement, because if you ain't raggedy no more, you worth funding. Be sure to subscribe to the Unraggedy podcast on YouTube, on wherever else we got it. I don't even know, April. Be sure to subscribe to the Unraggedy podcast. We're coming out with some new episodes soon. If you'd like to be a guest on the Unraggedy podcast, let us know. You can reach out, let us know. There's a link somewhere. You can let us know if you want to be a guest. I've reached out before for people to be guests on the Unraggedy podcast. I think y'all get a little bit nervous. Y'all like, Ty, you ain't about to be on the Unraggedy podcast talking about me and talking about my organization and all that kind of stuff. I promise you, I'm not going to treat you bad on the Unraggedy podcast. I just want to consult with you, live consulting with you to help you to get better with your organization. I used to do this thing called Ty Fix My Nonprofit. So the hot seat for the Unraggedy podcast is kind of like that. Ty Fix My Nonprofit, but we're just going to be live in real time, helping you to fill some of these holes. Sharon said she wants to be on there. April, I don't know if we have the link or not, if we can share what to Sharon for the Unraggedy podcast, but just the conversation about your organization, what you got going on, and identifying some holes in real time. Because usually when you're not worth funding, usually when you see stuff that's not coming in consistently, it's because you got some holes somewhere and you need to talk it out. Sometimes it's hard for you to see the holes because you won't stand on top of the hole. So you don't know that the hole is even in there. So come to the Unraggedy podcast, be a guest on the hot seat, and we can help you with that. But follow, the Unraggedy podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also have the readiness assessment, which is a new thing, right? If you're coming to me already, if you're coming to me to write grant for you, readiness assessment is absolutely required. But we also have a readiness assessment product for you guys. If you're wanting to know whether or not you're ready for funding, you complete this readiness assessment that we have, and we can kind of direct you to where you need to go, give you some feedback, about your readiness and what you need to be doing in order to get ready, depending on what kind of funding you are seeking. Now, you got folks who are seeking $1 million and they got no boards. We're not even playing with you like that, right? But if you think that you're ready for something, if you're ready for sponsorship, if you're ready for low-level grants, if you're ready for government grants, or you want to be ready and you need some little advice on how do I get, what's the next thing, Ty? What's the next step that I need to take? Do the readiness assessment. Reach out about the readiness assessment project. I think we have a link for that as well. All right. What else? I think I was telling you I was going to share a couple of products with y'all. I think I did that. We got the workbook. Y'all got the book. If y'all ain't got the book, y'all got go to the merch store and get some merch. Get some merch. It's hoodie season, y'all. Get your Be Worth Funding, your Unraggedy, your Don't Be Raggedy out here in these nonprofit streets of hoodies and stuff like that. Get that stuff. Get the book. Be Worth Funding. Get your life together. Get your nonprofit life together and stop being raggedy. All right. Okay. Who else? I'm gonna leave. It's 3 minutes. 3 minutes to my birthday party is over with. Thank you, Miss Yolanda. Thank you for look, y'all. Anniversary 1 year. We've been on the Amazon bestseller list almost the whole time. We go up and down on there, but for the most part, we've been on the Amazon bestseller list. So people are liking the book. If you read the book, give me some feedback on Amazon. Go to Amazon and leave your thoughts on the book. Now, if you just didn't like it or whatever, I don't care. If you just didn't like it, you like that. I don't even like your book. I don't care. I'm just gonna tell y'all, I don't care. Y'all been following me. Y'all know this is how I am. I'm not being mean or anything. But if you don't like it, maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's not for you, right? Maybe the book is not for you, but it is for your organization. We're doing our organizations a disservice because we're making stuff about us. It's about your organization. If you really want your organization to be in position to get funding, and not just grant funding, because grant funding is not all there is. I want you guys to know that. Please stop chasing the grant money. Please get the book and learn why. Please stop chasing the grant money. Please stop doing things backwards. Please build the inside of your organization so that you can attract external support and funding. All right, do that. All right, y'all. Oh, thank you. She said I'm her Shira. Thank you, Miss Yolanda. All right. Be worth. That's all I got. Y'all say happy birthday to the book, and I'm going on go. Y'all share this with y'all's friends. Share it with your friends. Happy birthday, book. Happy birthday, book. All right. Y'all good? Okay. Well, happy birthday, book, and I'll see y'all. I'll see y'all next time. All right. Bye, y'all. Building on the inside, Yolanda. Bye, y'all.